Good afternoon, everybody. This is Tom Lonka on the Smith River Complex South with your weather forecast. I want to start with what happened yesterday. We had Pacific flow for the last week or so. That has since eroded, and today we're really turning a corner going into a hot and dry pattern. Temperatures are going to be some 10 to 20 degrees above normal for mid-September, and we are getting some critical fire weather conditions being met today. Temperatures are already close to 90 degrees in the Smith River Valley, and they're approaching 80 degrees on the higher elevations. And in response, our humidities are really starting to come down into the 20s in the low elevations and 30s across the higher terrain. So this hot pattern is just going to continue to build. It's going to peak tomorrow, and then Friday and Saturday it's going to start to subside some. But here's the forecast. As we said, on Thursday we have some critical fire weather conditions being met, highs around 90, humidities around 20% on average. Could be some teens across the lower, even lower terrain across the lowest valleys. And then overnight recoveries. This means overnight the humidities are not going to come up like they usually do. They're going to remain very low in the 20s and 30s for Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Our temperatures will slowly cool through the weekend. As we get to Saturday, things are improving. We get to Sunday, we're more into the normal weather pattern for Northwest California, highs in the 70s. Our humidities are coming back up. We're going to get that flow off the Pacific again. But we have to get through these next few days of hot and very dry conditions. And that's been your weather forecast. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Diondray Wiley. I'm the Fire Behavior Analyst for California Team 4, and I'm here at the Smith River Complex. So today, real briefly, I'm going to cover what it means when the weather gets hotter and drier. We're expecting some warmer temperatures and some lower RH, relative humidities. And what that means for the firefighters on the ground is when we have those high temperatures and low RHs, the fuels become drier and drier and more receptive to fire spread. And depending on where they are, if the fuels are high up on the ridge top, say around 5,000 feet, the air is really, really dry in that area. So the fire may resist suppression efforts. Now, deep in the valley where it's cooler, firefighters may be able to go directly on the fire line and suppress those fires. Another thing I look at is how the temperature and lower relative humidity affects the fuels. When we look at the ground fuels, that's the roots and the twigs and the branches on the ground. When the weather is really hot based on the solar radiation and low moisture in the air, those fuels dry out and become susceptible to burning. And from the ground, we go to the surface fuels, which are our annual grasses, our herbs, and bushes. So the fire can carry from the ground fuels to the surface fuels, and then we have our tall trees. And the fire can go from the surface to up to the canopy, and we can have large fire spread. So one thing that we do look out, I do as a fire behavior analyst, when I report back to the firefighters, is how resistive the fire is going to be to our suppression efforts. If it's extremely hot, extremely dry, all the fuels are receptive, that means the fire can burn out of control and we can lose our control line. So that's what happens when it gets hot and dry. We do use several indices that we use to see how hot and how dry the weather is, or how dry the atmosphere is. We call it a probability of ignition. And what that is rated from 0 to 100. And the past few days, it's been closely around 70 to 80%. So what that means is if I dropped 100 matches in the same fuel beds, we'd get 80 new starts. So as the temperatures go up and relative humidity goes down, the probability of ignition increases, which means we can have more fires from spot fires. As the fire burns, it creates its own weather. It can throw pieces of bark and twigs into other receptive fuel beds, and that's how the fire can spread. So with that, thank you for your time and have a good day.